Hello, Aries, Aries Rising to 2025. Are you ready? Usually, you're the sign that's going to come first in front of the line and say, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. But I have a feeling that in the beginning of the year, I'm not feeling this too much. It's not quite running on all cylinders for you, which you can't stand. And have you figured out that you have to actually slow down in a part of your life here and to reconfigure and re-look at the way you even take action in the world? This shouldn't be a surprise to you. For the last year and a half, we've been having eclipses in your world in the sign, your sign Aries and in Libra, and it's brought in ways in for you to look at of how you do show yourself in the world, how you bring your will out into the battlefield that is a planet Earth, and how you deal with your self-assertion, etc. The beginning of the year, in January, the planet Mars is already retrograde. It's already backwards. And that started at the end of 2024 in the sign of Leo, a fellow fire sign. But here we go, January 6th, right off the bat. And that first week, by the way, whenever you watch this video, if you're catching this before the first week of January, I really want you to be cool, tempered, even tempered that week, because there's some things going on there that could completely set you off. Okay, so saying that, January 6th, Mars going backwards, retrograde, not functioning in all cylinders. The planet that rules you goes back into the sign of Cancer from January 6th all the way to April 17th and 18th. Wherever Mars is in astrology, you always listen and always pay attention to, because it is your ruling planet. And when it's going backwards, these are the stories of inflammation and frustration and tension that can't be released. And I can't take action like I'm used to doing, kind of thing, right? The engine isn't running on all cylinders. And a lot of this is really focused actually on your home life, the house that you live in, family matters, your past, your memories, the foundations and roots that you stand upon. A lot of this could be up for review already by the time you're watching this video. And you will have to deal with this stuff here in the beginning of the year. And this is very important because this actually affects how you stand in the world and affects your energy and your vitality. And whenever Mars is going backwards, it's vitality itself. It's how we assert. And if it's not happening, then you in the world of how you're viewing it and then physically walking into it could feel like you're depleted, or your gas tank is empty, or you're pushing when you shouldn't be pushing. And some of this narrative could play out at home and so on and so forth. If you can, when it comes to the home life, look to see what replenishes you and brings you a sense of calm. You'll have your moments to take action, to impose your will on the world, hopefully in a very positive way for yourself and those that you love. But again, your passion could be clipped here in the beginning of the year. Don't worry, it will start to flow again when we deal with the end of April and into May, when Mars will go back into Leo, a fellow fire sign that you engage with, and I think your creativity and spark will be back. But we can't just skip the beginning part of the year. I want to mention the beginning part here when we deal with February, because another planet that's been going backwards, Jupiter, that deals with abundance and buoyancy, and in a sense, it's like a cheerleader, a pep talk planet. It's like encouraging to go forth and seek out your goals, which you love. You love to do that when you are passionately connected to something. That planet will start to move forward slowly on February 4th all the way till June. That's how long it's going to be in the sign of Gemini. This actually affects your immediate surroundings, where you live, your neighbors around you, your siblings, the things that are close to you. And that has been going through a rehabilitation review process. And I think you start to get some clarity there. And the more we go in towards June, the more clear it gets. And I think you start to find some flow. Go for walks around your place, start to pay attention what's around you, and pay attention while you do those things in your interactions with those closest to you, friends, neighbors, siblings. Let's say you go on a walk with them. see how your brain is functioning and what you're saying, because it's some of these things that need to come out and to be spoken about. I think we're under review around the holidays at the end of 2024, and they might have been very difficult to deal with. And I think at this point in February, you get to actually flush it out and express in a positive way and have those support you. Again, try to integrate and look short distances around you, not from far away place, but look around you, right? So that theme starts to move forward. And when we get into March, I'm talking about, for me, one of the most volatile, wild, impactful parts of the year for you is when the eclipses start to happen during your birthday time, basically, for the Aries birthdays. And, again, I started off this video talking about how eclipses have been happening in the sign of Aries and Libra for the last year and a half. And, it's where things new want to come into your Aries world, but at the same time, you've had to learn to let go of certain things, or you've dealt with separation in some sort of ways when it comes to relating. So here we have a massive eclipse that happens on March 29th for you. It is the last eclipse that's going to happen in your sign of Aries and to deal with the Aries Libra story for the last year and a half. This is, I don't want to say it's celebratory, but I think there's a massive reality check, and you could see the finish line maybe with some stuff, but there's still a bunch of things that are going to come up with this, and the finish line might be later in the year, right? But I'll have more to say about that farther in the forecast. But I want you to pay attention to this place, because what you say is a bond, okay? What one thinks and what one says, in a sense, is an initiating process, and it basically reflects the intent of what you tell yourself in the mind and what happens in the world, whether it's with yourself or with the world and other people in general, right? And this will be a theme here in the springtime. You basically will have the planet Venus and the planet Mercury. Venus with relationships, in a sense, how we deal with love and relationships, and sometimes our resources and also our senses, and then Mercury, how we communicate. They will both be in your sign of Aries, but stop and go retrograde and go backwards for a redefinition process, and that is not the easiest thing to do. And this is all during eclipses. This is all during a point in time where it's a tension feeling when you want to release, but it's all about having to look at things again and review. And everything that I'm saying here doesn't give you the sense of what you really want to do, which is to completely push forward, right? To completely get what you want. I want this. I need to prove myself out in the world. And I think you've been getting a little bit of that the last year, but it's not the way you really like it. It's a long, ongoing story, and this will be a test here in March. Not only that, we have a couple other lunations in the full moon and stuff that really going to start to bring themes into how you do things every day, the little things, the things that to-do list, when you eat at this time, when you go to sleep at that time. These little things matter and actually can help you navigate when it comes to how you want to show yourself in the world. But you need discipline to do that. You need structure to do that. The little things, chop wood, carry water, the things that aren't dramatic, but these are the things that carry us through the day. And those day-by-day activities do build to something else bigger. And that, to me, is something that you need to understand if you haven't already. You have to reconfigure those things in your life. And if you need to ask for help for that and not just be the lone wolf, please do. Again, this can all affect your vitality, your energy, and how you stand and enter the world. You'll get your chance to shoot out of the cannon. You will. But this springtime, you need to slow down and reevaluate on many different levels, and down the line, it will pay off for you. Saying that, more interesting things happen to you. You're like one of these people, like it's Aries and Virgo and like your sign, that have so much happening this year and into 2026. I can't cover it in one big video, but something else starts to kick in here, because The planet Neptune that deals with dissolving things, transcendence, right? Over time is going to enter your sign for at least the appearance of a long haul on March 30th. And then Saturn, the task master planet, the planet of responsibility and authority and limitations, is going to enter your sign at the end of May. And they're both going to be there. And these are two heavy hitters in astrology. And they're going to enter your whole world like you haven't had enough to deal with this year in the last year and a half with eclipses. You haven't had enough to deal with the wounded story of Chiron in your life these many years of having to see your wounds exposed publicly into yourself. So much work that you've done, so much cutting and severing and this, and how much more can you do, right? And here comes Neptune to bring some deeper story for many years to come. And here comes Saturn to want to solidify and crystallize a story of reconstruction at the core of who you are. And so they will be in your life all summertime. But then when we get to fall, they're going to stop and go backwards and leave again and go back to the previous sign of Pisces. You have to understand here that sometimes the bigger things in life you can't get in the moment, that it takes time and there's a process involved. If you have a place in your life where you can go that is your secret cave, metaphorically or real life, or maybe you do have a cave in your life, I don't know, but that means that a place in your world that is meditative, that is regenerative, that is a place that you can nurse your wounds, your illnesses, to deal with sorrow and grief in your life that might say you haven't encountered for a long time and it's come up the last couple years and you've been in this process of wounded space and trying to understand it. Remember, it's a good place to have. If it's set up correctly and feels safe for you, you can tend to that. And in a sense, too, like it's almost like a spiritual workout, which if you think about what Aries like to do, they need to wield the sword and shield. Think of it from a spiritual point of view of what you need to do from a rehabilitative place internally. And you take that and then you bring it externally by taking care of your body, taking care of like what you put into your body, your mindset. A lot of what I'm saying here that has to do with this year is to refortify this kind of relationship in your life to yourself. So when the time comes for you to initiate, you will be like strong. Okay, so this plays out in the summer into fall. And, you know, for me, I think it's very important here because another factor in this narrative is in June, the planet Jupiter will leave Gemini, right, this thinking place, and go into the place in your world for a year that has to do with your home, your family, and your past and your memories, and what gives you a sense of foundation. And we touched upon this in the beginning of this video, that your ruling planet Mars is going to be having a tough time in the beginning of the year in this area of home and showing itself there and what you'll have to deal with. But all of a sudden, another planet hits that place in June. But I think it could be super beneficial at that point if you take care of business at home and reestablish what that means for you in the beginning part of the year. Then there could be some benefits that Jupiter brings in your home family life, but you can't avoid things. Listen, I know sometimes you get set off really easily. You're a Mars ruled person. It's like action first, think later type of stuff. But if you haven't figured it out already, sometimes you have to do the Venus way of living, not Mars all the time. Sometimes you have to balance relationships, balance decision making, and not just jump out the door. And even when you have tried to jump out the door lately, you've crashed and burned. We know you can get up from situations like that, but how many times do you do that? And what's the lesson that you're learning, right? So I think a lot of times in contemplative, safe home environment is where you can tactically plan out your goals. Get stronger physically and emotionally. Filter out what is not needed. Purge and sweat out physically and metaphorically in your life. And I think there's a payoff waiting for you supportive wise when it comes to like your roots in your home, and it will show up in the rest of your life. Feed your vitality here in the later part of the year when we get into the full moon that's going to happen in Aries on October 6th. There, I think you'll have a better sense of where you are and who you are. And when you get to the end of 2025 into 2026, then we have a story brewing for years where you're going to completely reconstruct your outward physical reality, and you will be tested. But you want to be tested in the end, don't you, Aries? If you get it together this year internally and take care of your body, the next several years in the 2026 and 2027, you can build anything that you put your mind to, and your body could be running on all cylinders to pull this stuff off. But you got to be real here this year. First, there's certain habits and certain things that need to go. All right. Saying that, one more thing I want to throw at you is you have a couple surprises. There's a kind of some surprises that happen in the middle of July into August. I won't say too much about Uranus and Gemini coming into your thinking world. That will really kick into 2026. Again, you're one of these signs here this year that you're predominantly on stage, and we're watching you, and we're trying to understand how Mars works through a Mars retrograde, through an eclipse, and through Saturn and Neptune entering your sign Aries. We're always going to be paying attention to where Mars is. I'm going to give you a little bonus here before I leave, and I didn't do this for the other signs, but I want you to pay attention to the time around September 22nd until November 4th too, because your planet ruler Mars will be in a sign of Scorpio, and I think this will work really well for you. I think the fall is interesting for you in general. You just got to get past the first so many parts of the year, etc., etc. Listen, if you dug what I'm doing and you made it this far, my Aries risings, and I hope you did, the warriors that you are, you made it to this point, hit the subscribe button, will ya? Hit the bell to know when I go live. If you want some deeper insight, my bread and butter, what I really like to do is one-on-one consultations with clients. I do them over Zoom, or if you live locally, I can do them in person. Hit up sparklesofgold.com or hit the links here in the copy. You'll see my booking page, all right? I'll do my best to help you and listen to you and come up with a plan. So eventually, that sword is reforged and that shield is strong as ever, and you can put yourself out into the world. Thanks for watching.